You're taking us back to one of our top stories this evening. The French Prime Minister deciding to use a constitutional tool to pass a budget without a parliamentary vote.
Well, after an extraordinary ministerial meeting this afternoon, Sébastien Lecornu announced he'd use Article 49.3 of the French Constitution to push the 2023 budget bill through the lower house of parliament without a vote. He had pledged not to use this tool, but after months of stalemate, which resulted in the country running on an emergency bill carrying over last year's spending levels, he's changed his mind. He's also betting that following the latest concessions, the government now has enough political support to survive a no-confidence vote, which the far left and the far right have already said that they will table. Luke Trago reports.
For the French Prime Minister, it was a choice between a budget in another 3 or 4 months that wasn't fit for purpose, no budget at all, or going back on his word. After months of negotiations, Sébastien Lecornu announced he'd be forcing legislation through without parliamentary approval.
We have decided, I have to say with some personal regret and a little bitterness, that the government will undertake its responsibilities when it comes to the revenue section of the draft finance bill.
France's public debt swelled to 117.4% of GDP at the end of the third quarter 2025, and political deadlock in Parliament did nothing to allay fears the nation could get its spending under control. Lecornu added a number of compromises to the bill, such as an extra €400 million for social housing, extra benefits for low-income earners, cheaper university meals for students, and no tax increases in 2026. To help pay for it, a corporate surtax on large companies will be maintained, with various ministries and local authorities looking at belt-tightening in the months ahead, something that should raise about €8 billion. Pushing it through without a vote in Parliament will instantly open the government up to a vote of no confidence. But this time the opposition left-wing Socialists will be standing behind them.
A majority is impossible. In that context, we think Article 49.3 is the least bad solution to provide France with an integrated budget that includes measures for justice and ecological social progress that we were able to negotiate with the government.
Lecornu believes his bill would hold the public deficit to 5% of GDP this year, and France could finally have a definitive budget by mid-February.
So how exactly does this constitutional article work?
Well, Sharon, this is a perfectly legal constitutional tool that the government can use and to bypass Parliament in enacting a law. Now, it has been used over 100 times since it was enshrined in the 1958 Constitution of the Fifth Republic. To pass this budget, the Prime Minister will have to use it 3 times. First, for the revenue part of the bill, second, for the spending part, and third, for the whole text. Now, each time it's activated, opposition parties will have 24 hours to file a motion of no confidence and can topple the government if it passes with an absolute majority. So it's a risky move for Mr. Lecornu, but it's rare for no confidence motions to succeed in France. At the end of 2024, the government of then Prime Minister Michel Barnier collapsed in this way after he activated Article 49.3. His successor, François Bayrou, was forced to resign last September after losing a confidence vote in Parliament, but that was called following his general policy declaration and not triggered by his use of this particular article.
Now, Donald Trump's threat to impose more tariffs on European nations in retaliation for them not supporting him over Greenland, it's spooking the markets again.
Well, market sentiment has been weak at the start of a new trading week as the price of safe haven assets like gold rose again. European markets fell across the board. Car manufacturers' stocks were sold off amid the proposed new tariffs threatening to derail a fragile US-EU trade deal. One analyst says, though, Europe must stay united against what he said was blackmail.
I believe that the Europeans now realise that appeasing Donald Trump will not get us anywhere in the long run. And Donald Trump's closest confidants, who no longer work for him, have repeatedly pointed out that Donald Trump only responds to strength. And that is exactly what Europe must now demonstrate if Donald Trump sticks to his position.
And that's it from the business desk.
Yuka, thanks so much for that. Yuka Boya there with all the day's business news.